Most men still believe that treating a woman well is about saying the right things, being more attentive, being emotionally available, and adjusting themselves to what they imagine she wants. They believe attraction grows when effort increases, when explanations become clearer, when intentions are verbalized with precision. But what almost no one tells them is that long before a woman processes a single word, her nervous system has already decided how she feels about the man standing in front of her. And that decision is not based on kindness, logic, or intention. It is based on what his body, his rhythm, his presence, and his emotional structure communicate in silence. The invisible mistake most men make is not in what they say, but in how their body collapses while saying it, a voice that seeks approval, a posture that shrinks instead of occupying space, breathing that speeds up when tension appears, eyes that ask permission instead of offering direction. This is where attraction is either stabilized or quietly dismantled. And once you understand the mechanism behind this, everything you thought about treating women well will need to be restructured from the inside out. Before we go further, answer this honestly in the comments. Have you ever felt that the more patient, understanding, or accommodating you became with a woman, the less respect or attraction you seemed to receive in return, even though you were doing everything right, not in theory, in real life? That answer matters more than you think, because it reveals whether you've already experienced the contradiction this video is about. For years, men tried to learn how to treat women by copying cultural scripts. Romantic movies taught them to persist. Social advice taught them to listen more, agree more, soften more. Friends told them that effort eventually wins. And when those strategies failed, the conclusion was always the same: I didn't do enough, or I wasn't good enough. But the truth is more uncomfortable. They were playing a game built on assumptions, not on how the human nervous system actually works. Women do not respond to intentions. They respond to signals. And signals are processed instinctively below conscious thought. What you call respect, effort, or care only matters if it aligns with the way your presence is felt. From the perspective of behavioral psychology, attraction is not a reaction to what you claim to be, but to what your behavior consistently demonstrates under pressure. Evolutionary psychology has shown this for decades, even if culture prefers to ignore it. Female attraction mechanisms are shaped by cues of emotional stability, internal direction, and social competence, not by excessive availability, not by emotional submission, and certainly not by a man who abandons his own center in order to maintain harmony. The nervous system does not reward self-erasure. It interprets it as instability. This is where most men confuse treating her well with diminishing themselves. They believe avoiding conflict, constantly agreeing, and placing the woman at the emotional center of their life is maturity. In reality, this behavior sends a very different signal at the instinctive level. Kindness without structure becomes weakness. Attention without criteria becomes neediness. And submission disguised as empathy communicates insecurity, not value. Treating a woman well, in the way that actually matters, is not about pleasing her emotional surface. It is about positioning yourself in a way her nervous system recognizes as grounded, stable, and directed. There is a brutal difference between a man who is polite and a man who has no emotional spine. Science does not reward the second. At the level where attraction forms, behavior is read as structure. Your posture, your pace, your decisions, your reactions, all of these shape how you are experienced long before any conscious interpretation takes place. When you understand this, you stop guessing. You stop trying to decode every reaction. And you start acting from clarity instead of fear. This video is not about manipulation. It is about alignment. About understanding how women actually want to be treated according to observable psychological and biological mechanisms, not according to romantic narratives. When your behavior aligns with reality, interactions become simpler, less effort, less confusion, more respect. And attraction stops feeling like a fragile accident and starts feeling like a natural consequence. The first pillar is behavioral direction and internal leadership. In real interactions, what destabilizes attraction is not a lack of affection. It is a lack of direction. When a man hesitates constantly, when every decision becomes a question, when he transfers responsibility for momentum to her, something subtle breaks. The feeling of safety dissolves before it ever becomes conscious. Not because she wants control, but because the human emotional system seeks structure. Stability is calming. Indecision is taxing. Clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson has explained that women tend to respond better to men who offer structure, not because they want to be dominated, but because uncertainty creates cognitive and emotional load. When everything is open-ended, when nothing is anchored, the nervous system remains alert instead of relaxed. And attraction does not grow in alertness. It grows in contained tension. Leadership at the behavioral level has nothing to do with authoritarianism. It is the ability to decide without anxiety, to act without seeking emotional permission at every step. Research from Harvard on leadership perception shows that decisiveness increases both trust and perceived competence. The female nervous system translates this very directly. If he can organize the environment calmly, he is reliable. If he hesitates constantly, he transfers emotional weight to her, and that slowly suffocates desire. The insecure man tries to be overly democratic where firmness is required. He asks everything, confirms everything, seeks validation for every move. He believes this is respect. In reality, it is fear disguised as politeness. Women feel more at ease when they do not have to assume emotional command of the interaction. When the man defines rhythm, timing, and next steps with calm certainty, he communicates social competence without saying a word. At this level, treating her well means something surprisingly simple and rare. Making small decisions without asking for approval. Choosing the place, setting the time, guiding the conversation naturally. Holding firmness without rigidity. Presence without aggression. The body registers this before the mind labels it. Clear direction calms the nervous system. And when the system is calm, attraction has space to emerge. A man with behavioral leadership does not try to impress. He organizes the space around him. He does not fight for control. He occupies it naturally. This posture does not create tension. It creates instinctive trust. Because at its core, treating a woman well is about reducing emotional noise, holding direction, allowing her system to relax within a structure you are capable of sustaining. The second pillar is emotional stability under pressure. Tension is where truth appears. When discomfort enters the interaction, when something unexpected happens, when disagreement or provocation arises, that is when who you really are becomes visible. Friedrich Nietzsche associated strength with self-governance, not dominance, and this is not abstract philosophy, it is biological reality. Women test emotionally not out of malice, but out of an instinctive need to assess resilience, coherence, and self-control. These tests are never announced. They show up as criticism, sudden distance, teasing, silence, or emotional unpredictability. And how a man responds defines everything. Emotional outbursts, excessive justification, and frantic attempts to restore harmony all communicate the same thing: lack of center. Studies from the University of California have shown that emotional regulation is directly linked to perceived status. The female nervous system interprets this simply. If he disorganizes under pressure, he cannot hold when it matters. This is not about winning arguments. It is about not losing your posture. Many men confuse emotional expression with authenticity. They believe reacting intensely shows connection. In practice, it introduces instability. Emotional stability is not coldness. It is the ability to feel without being ruled by impulse, to keep tone steady when the environment fluctuates, to receive criticism without immediate defense, to respond with clarity instead of urgency. At this level, treating her well means offering emotional predictability, consistency between words and actions, coherence even when pressure increases. The female body senses this before any conscious thought forms. When you remain intact, the emotional field reorganizes around you. Tension stops being a threat and becomes stimulation, and sustained stimulation is one of the foundations of attraction. This is the line that separates men who constantly try from men who are naturally respected, which is why real mastery is not about memorized lines or social tricks. It is about applied emotional structure, training your internal state so that your presence communicates stability without effort. And yet many men fail at the third layer after learning firmness and emotional control. They mistake control for closure, presence for rigidity, and slowly drift into a space where everything becomes predictable. Carl Jung explained that desire lives in the space between what is known and what remains to be discovered. When that space collapses, interest does not disappear dramatically. It simply falls asleep. Excessive comfort activates social bonding, not sexual tension. When everything is available too quickly, when mystery vanishes, when the man becomes completely readable and emotionally exposed, the nervous system relaxes in a way that no longer supports attraction. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that controlled ambiguity increases arousal and interest by keeping the brain in a state of anticipation. This is not manipulation. It is neurobiology. The opposite mistake is equally common, believing that coldness or distance alone creates desire. It may spark curiosity briefly, but it kills connection. Women do not want indifference. They want presence with depth. The balance lies in offering closeness without dependency, attention without self-abandonment, interest without seeking constant confirmation. In practice, treating her well here means alternating presence with self-focus, being engaged without orbiting her, sharing without unloading everything, maintaining interest without chasing reassurance. When your life has structure, direction, and pleasure beyond the interaction, this is communicated without explanation. The field changes. The body feels it. Healthy emotional tension does not create anxiety. It creates stimulation. It keeps desire alive because it respects the natural rhythm of attraction. No rush, no stagnation, no neediness, no cold withdrawal. A man who understands this principle does not try to hold a woman's attention. He creates an environment where attention wants to stay. And this brings us to the core realization that most men resist. Treating women well is not about effort. It is about structure. When you observe everything said so far without emotional bias, the conclusion becomes unavoidable. Women do not respond to men who try harder. They respond to men who are internally organized, clear direction, emotional stability, balanced tension. These are not techniques. They are reflections of internal order. Behavioral scientist David Buss demonstrated that female attraction is a continuous reading of signals, not promises, not intentions, signals. Confident men do not panic over mood shifts. They do not collapse under tests. They do not reshape themselves to preserve attention. They hold posture, they hold rhythm, they hold coherence, and this communicates value silently. At this level, treating a woman well has nothing to do with pleasing her. It has everything to do with self-governance. A man who governs his emotions does not explode or beg. A man who offers direction does not outsource decisions out of insecurity. A man who sustains healthy tension does not suffocate or disappear. He positions himself. He chooses. He remains whole within the interaction. And when that internal structure exists, treating a woman well stops being a conscious effort. It becomes a natural expression of who the man has become. There is a moment every man reaches where effort stops producing results. Not because he lacks value, but because he is operating from the wrong internal position. He is trying to do the right thing, instead of being organized enough for the right behavior to emerge naturally. And this is where most conversations about how women want to be treated collapse. They focus on actions, words, gestures, techniques, but attraction does not respond to choreography. It responds to internal order. When a man has no internal center, everything he does leaks need. Even his kindness carries tension. Even his patience feels heavy. Even his generosity asks for something back. And the female nervous system reads this instantly, not consciously, somatically, through microsignals in tone, timing, breathing, posture, and reaction speed. This is why two men can say the same sentence and generate completely different reactions. The difference is not language, it is structure. At the deepest level, women do not want to be treated in a specific way. They want to feel something specific in the presence of a man, and that feeling is not excitement alone, it is not safety alone, it is a precise combination of grounded stability and contained tension. When that combination is present, behavior becomes secondary. almost irrelevant. When it is absent, no amount of correct behavior compensates. This is the point most men resist, because it removes the illusion of control. It means there is no external trick, no perfect phrasing, no universal script. There is only the internal state from which behavior emerges, and that state is built, not performed. The man who tries to please operates reactively. His attention moves outward. He scans constantly. He adjusts himself to prevent loss. His body leans forward emotionally, even when he is standing still. His nervous system is in pursuit mode, and pursuit, when it is driven by anxiety, erodes polarity. It communicates that the interaction matters more than the man himself. The man who leads from internal structure operates differently. His attention is anchored inward. He does not ignore her, but he is not organized around her. His body remains upright, breathing steady, voice unhurried. He does not rush to fill silence. He does not collapse under ambiguity. He does not negotiate his worth through explanation. His nervous system is not seeking regulation from her response. And this is where everything changes, because when a man is regulated internally, the interaction regulates itself around him. This is the silent mechanism behind the title, not how women want to be treated emotionally, but how they want to experience a man somatically. The experience of being with someone who is not leaking urgency, who is not outsourcing emotional balance, who is not trying to earn permission to exist in the interaction. Neuroscience has consistently shown that emotional contagion shapes interpersonal dynamics more than conscious intent. The calmer, more coherent nervous system tends to dominate the emotional field, not through force, but through stability. When a man holds coherence under uncertainty, when he does not fracture under pressure, the woman's system entrains to that rhythm. Safety emerges without being promised. Attraction emerges without being chased. This is why arguments, tests, and emotional fluctuations often increase attraction with the right man instead of destroying it. He does not interpret tension as danger. He treats it as information. He does not rush to resolve discomfort. He allows it to exist without losing himself inside it. And paradoxically, this makes the interaction feel alive instead of fragile. Most men are taught to eliminate tension, to smooth everything out, to make sure nothing uncomfortable remains. But desire does not live in comfort alone. It lives in the dynamic balance between stability and uncertainty. Too much comfort and desire dissolves into neutrality. Too much uncertainty and safety collapses. The art is holding both simultaneously. This is where presence becomes more important than behavior. Presence is not confidence theater. It is the absence of inner fragmentation. When your words, your body, and your emotional tone point in the same direction, the interaction feels clean. When they contradict each other, even subtly, the interaction feels unstable. Women may not articulate this consciously, but they respond to it relentlessly. And here lies the final misunderstanding. Treating women well has been framed as something you do for them. In reality, it is something you do to yourself. You build a nervous system that is calm under pressure. You develop an internal axis that does not bend with every emotional shift. You cultivate direction, so decisions feel natural instead of forced. And from that place, respectful, attractive behavior emerges automatically. This is why manipulation fails long-term. Manipulation requires constant calculation, constant monitoring, constant adjustment. It fractures internal coherence, and fractured coherence is felt as distrust. No matter how smooth the surface looks, true attraction does not come from controlling her reactions. It comes from controlling your own internal state so completely that her reactions no longer control you. At this stage, the man stops asking how to treat women and starts asking a more dangerous question. Who do I need to become so that my presence naturally creates respect and attraction without effort? That question changes everything. Because the answer is not flattering, it demands responsibility, emotional discipline, internal order. It demands the abandonment of the fantasy that effort alone is enough. It demands the construction of an identity that does not beg, chase, or collapse. And once that identity is built, behavior simplifies. The man no longer over-explains. He states. He no longer seeks reassurance, he observes, he no longer reacts impulsively, he responds deliberately, he no longer competes for attention. He allows attention to orient toward him. This is the transformation most men never complete. From the anxious man to the centered man, from the reactive man to the man who leads, from the man who asks to the man who receives, not because he demands, but because his internal structure makes demands unnecessary. This is the real secret behind how women want to be treated according to science. Not romance, not ideology, not performance, structure, regulation, direction, presence. When these exist, respect appears before attraction. And when respect appears, attraction has something stable to attach to. The man who understands this stops trying to prove himself. He stops fearing mistakes. He stops interpreting every reaction as a verdict on his worth. He moves through interactions with clarity instead of urgency, and that clarity is felt as strength. At that point, treating a woman well is no longer a strategy. It is a side effect. And this is where the journey either ends or deepens, because building this internal structure is not about memorizing rules. It is about reprogramming how you relate to pressure, uncertainty, and desire itself. It is a method, a system, a form of internal conditioning that aligns behavior with reality instead of fantasy. Men who commit to this path stop asking for shortcuts. They seek mastery. They seek a code, not to control women, but to control themselves so completely that attraction becomes a consequence, not a goal. When you stop trying to win the interaction and start governing your internal state, the game changes. Not because women change, but because you do. And once you change at that level, there is no going back. Because a man who has found his center does not return to anxiety. A man who has direction does not return to confusion. A man who governs himself does not return to asking for permission to exist. That is not philosophy. That is inevitability.